Okay, hi everybody. This is Betsy Sobiech, and I am with Tiara International, and this is our Friday Facebook Live, where the managing partners who are available hop on and talk about something that's on our minds. I'm Betsy Sobiech. I typically come from Chicago or the Chicago area, and today I'm in upstate New York on my way to watch my nephew play baseball at Cooperstown. So I'm on the road, which is perfect for a virtual office conversation. And with me today, I have Peg Rowe.
Hello.
And you are from your home office today, right?
I
Where's your home
am.
office?
Lake Forest, Illinois.
Okay, perfect. So this is the perfect tag team of virtual
Yes.
office and home office
Right.
conversation. So when we went into business, 15 years ago in different consulting firms, and 10 years ago as Tiara International, we definitely decided to not do the overhead of a whole office space where we would go to an office every day. We are located here in Chicago, in LA, in the Netherlands. We have our certified coaches that live lots of different places. And we wanted that integrated lifestyle where you could actually accomplish work from anywhere. And we also wanted to be smart business people that didn't have a lot of expense or that kind of thing that we were carrying. As a lot of you know, who've also working from home office, whether it's just 1 or 2 days a week from a more professional job or all the time as an entrepreneur, it does come with some challenges. And there are some ways that you can be more suited for it or less suited for it. So we just thought from our point of view, we would just share some of what we did in order to make it work, some of the challenges we faced, and actually also what we love about it because we've continued to do it clearly for a long time. So Peg, how about I start with you and just share with me and everybody what it was that either you found surprising or challenging or what you did from the get-go to make the home office work for you.
I think the thing that was interesting for me when I very first started, probably the first missing that I recognized was that I had a computer and no computer support. So, when I went out on my own, it seemed like a reasonable thing to do. And I had enough colleagues who were doing the same kind of work that I could understand, like some of the things in terms of setting up my office. I had an office at home already. So that wasn't like I had to figure that out. That was already there. But what was the thing that was most surprising to me was how much I relied on support when I worked corporately that I just took for granted. Like if my laptop did something funky, you just walked it down to IT and handed it to them and said, hey, this is what it's doing. And then an hour later, they brought it back and it was all good. So not having that sort of in-house was probably my biggest surprise in terms of that. My biggest other surprise was how much I actually really enjoyed being able to craft my day the way that I wanted and the way that I could put my week together in a way that felt like it really suited me. And on the one hand, you miss being around the people. So there was a part of me that missed an office environment and colleagues that were right there. But on the other hand, there was also the part of me that liked that I could decide I was going to work on a project for 3 hours and there were no interruptions. I really could actually focus my time. So, to me, it has a lot of advantages. And then there's just some things you have to do as workarounds.
What did you do to solve the IT problem? Because I hear that from a lot of folks who go offline. They're like, wait a minute, I don't have the admin support, whether it's IT, whether it's executive assistant that I've had before.
I've gone through a couple of iterations, but what it's come down to is having IT support that's remote. And the way we work it, I have had 2 people that I relied on the most. One actually, he and his wife moved to Colorado and he ended up going into a different business and not doing IT support anymore. And so I have someone else that does that. And that person lives completely on the opposite side of Chicago in this, in Naperville, which is another suburb that's south of us. So it's not convenient, but he can connect into my computer. He can manage it remotely. He's come to my house to do things probably maybe 4 or 5 times on the times we worked together, where I bought a new computer and he came and helped me actually get it all set up and get it on the files where I needed and make sure that was going on. But most of the time, if I have an issue, I just send him an email. And, we schedule a time and he jumps on the computer and I get a code and he's working my computer. I have to be there. That's the difference. It's not like you hand your computer over and can go do something else. But it works really well. That has worked surprisingly well, actually. I've been very pleased with how easy it is actually to find remote support. And I like having the continuity of a person. So I know people use like the computer squads from some of the big box stores, but I like the continuity of somebody who knows what's going on in my computer, what it is, how it's been set up, and they're not going to undo something that we already put in place.
Right. And I think that I hear that from a lot of entrepreneurs, that you have to outline what the support services are that you're going to need, even though as a business owner and a newer entrepreneur, you do a lot. Like you do marketing, you do delivery, you do visioning for your business, you do contracts, you do a lot of different things, yet you actually can't do everything. So looking at, do you need a bookkeeper? Do you need a tax person? Do you need an IT person on call? And which of those services are you going to use others for? And then finding the virtual administrative team that can support you, not overly. Like you want to be able to do it, to scale of what you need, both price-wise and resource and time-wise. Yeah, you do need to put that in place. And it takes a little while. Like I feel like we've had some hits and misses with a few of those different folks. And then once you get that right partnership, it's great. It works as well as a corporate environment because you have that person you can count on when you need them. But you might have a few misses. And the best thing is just to ask the other entrepreneurs and business owners that who do you use? Do you like them? Do they have capacity? And get referrals that way, more than anything, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other thing that we've done as Tiara is it took us some time to find the right kind of admin support that could provide that interim support when we needed it. And we went through a few different iterations of that. And Betsy, you actually sort of led the charge in terms of lining that up and finding that. But I actually feel like right now, for the most part, we have what we need and it feels like it works well. Could we use more sometimes or less sometimes? Sure. But for the most part, I actually think it works very well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that is one of the pros to being a business owner or entrepreneur is you can be creative about the services that you need and get that right amount of support. I would say for myself, one of the cons, something that I still always have to be intentional about is pretty much what you've heard before, which is even though you have the flexibility that you have with a work at home or a virtual work schedule, you have to manage this idea that I also can be working all the time. So for me, I always have to be really intentional about, yes, here's when I'm working. And if I'm not, to really say, no, I'm not working and figure out how to turn things off during that time. Or even like right now, as I started the call, I'm on a family trip. I'm going to go watch my nephew play baseball for a week. I'm going to stay in a place with my mom and dad. Yet I did check on it with myself. And I was like, it doesn't feel good to be totally out for the week because there are a couple projects I really want to stay tuned into. Yet I also don't want it to be like willy-nilly because that would be really stressful for me and my family to not know, you hate that feeling of like when you're with people, feeling like you should be working, and when you're working, feeling like you should be with people. So if you're going to take advantage of the virtual, on the road, work from anywhere space, it really helps to be super clear of like, these are the 2 hours I'm going to work tomorrow. Here's the 1 hour I'm going to check in with stuff tonight. Here's the half day that I'm not going to do a family thing, but I'm going to really catch up on work. And just let folks know, including yourself, in advance, and then work that system. And then it's super freeing because then you can be remote. You can be really present with your family when you're doing family stuff. And you can be really tuned into work when you're doing work stuff. Personally, I find that's actually really effective for me. And sometimes when I'm not busy or not juggling too many things, that's when I feel like I waste some time at my home office or something like that. So what else do you hear some of this?
And to your point, I would say one of the things that's hugely advantage for me right now is that my daughter lives in Colorado and I schedule weeks through the year that I go and I just work from Colorado. I'm working. It's not that I'm doing anything differently. I'm just in a different location, but I love the flexibility that I usually rent an Airbnb or a VVRO rather than a hotel room. So I have everything there that I need. I'm in close proximity to her. She has a full-time job, so she's working during the day. So we both work, and then at night, I can go to dinner with her and spend time with her. And so it feels like she's there and I'm there, and I really enjoy that. And it doesn't really really take away. The only thing that I make sure that I'm not doing is planning things that require my physical presence. So I can't do meetings that I would need to be in person for. But now that we have Zoom, there's so much that I can do on Zoom that I might have not felt I could do before, that it feels like you are there. So between using Zoom and phone, I pretty much can do what I need to do. Other than stand up and lead a program, that's about the only thing I can't do. Yeah.
And even now we've led some programs from Zoom. It just hasn't been the in-person kind for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think for myself, again, a little background noise, if you can hear it, as I'm parked on the roadside here for this one. I would say that I would also share that the working from home isn't necessarily for everyone. So I also know some entrepreneurs and business owners that when they started working from home, they also had to create some schedule structure, like have Monday mornings they meet with other business partners or colleagues or even co-working in a co-working space, so that they had to get up and go somewhere and focus on work because it was too distracting at home to really get anything done. Or some people who always feel so guilty about family and work, and if they're working or not working, that it's just too stressful to manage a home office or a home work environment. You know, for me, I feel like because I love to solve problems, I love the challenge of it. Like you give me a challenge of like, how can you do this call in this time zone on this place and make it really quality and really present and have everything work? I'm like, yeah, I think I can do that. And then I feel invigorated by it, as long as it's not putting a client engagement at risk or the quality of our business at risk or something that is really, really important to me. So for me, and I also feel like, although there are times I feel guilty and definitely have the whole I'm behind or I should have done more or whatever, I don't think as strong of the guilt as some people do about, oh my gosh, I should be more productive with my day, or I didn't get this done, or this, whatever that thing is. So because of the fact that I love the challenge of it, I love the creativity, I love the freedom and the flexibility, I have a pretty good barometer of what things are essential and I can't let slip at all. And I do pretty well managing the guilt. I feel like I'm really well suited for it, more than probably the corporate environment, whereas some people, the whole thing is just too anxiety producing.
Yeah, and I liked both. So I felt like when I was working corporately, that worked fine for me and I made that work, and this works as well. I would offer one other thing because for the most part, because of the way my children are gone, and so I actually have my home to myself, so I have very few distractions during the day, which is helpful. But I did at one point have a kid here, and my husband also did some consulting and worked from home as well in a different office. So he was downstairs, I was upstairs. And one of the things that I had to be tuned into was, particularly because I do coaching and that's confidential and I don't want, to be interrupted or for people to be listening to that. We had to work out the structure and sort of the signal. So the signal for my family was my door was closed. If my door was closed, then you couldn't interrupt me. And so I keep my door open when I'm not on calls that I need to feel are confidential, but that let everybody know, like, don't knock on the door, don't come in. I'll, if you need me, leave something on the door taped and I'll see it when I open the door. But we had to sort of work through some of that. And so that everybody understood, kind of what the guidelines were, how to make that work so that, people weren't feeling like they were busting in or interrupting, or it wasn't creating issues for me in terms of my work.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense. And there's always the unexpected thing. And I think one of the things we've really learned over our tenure as business owners is we have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. So like if my internet doesn't work in my house, I can't not produce work for clients or for our virtual community for however long it takes for Comcast to come back out. So you have then your business partner's home office, you have your Starbucks around the corner, you have your whatever. So there's always a way in which, within reason and with communication, to do the most important things. But I would say the most successful business owners I know, I rarely hear them say, I couldn't figure it out. Like they might say, I'm having this challenge, I need 5 minutes, or I'm sorry, the quality isn't what I expected, or I thought it would be video and I'm only on phone. Like there's different things that they do. But the most successful business owners, first of all, have enough time to kind of plan for things to not go well or go right, especially if you're relying on technology. And then they have their backup plans of like how they could make it work, from any scenario. So I think that's another thing. You can't count on plan A all the time, and you have to include the interruptions. And you definitely have to, like you were just saying, communicate with the people in your space. Like there are times I'm working from home. Like for example, when I get back from this trip, I have a family staying with me for 3 days. So I've already said I'm going to have to work some of those times. And then again, I'll be clear. Am I going to go out of the home and they're just going to have the run of the house? Am I going to say this is the room that I'm in and not be interrupted? But just be really transparent and open and clear when you're sharing space with people so that it doesn't run into those interruptions, especially if it's a really high priority client phone call or something like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think I go back to something you were saying earlier, just about as people make that adjustment from potentially being corporate or in a professional work environment to home, and then knowing yourself. And that idea that if you are someone who's highly extroverted, and the idea of being in your home office 5 days a week, maybe being on calls or other intercommunication, but largely by yourself, might not work. Like for me, it works fine because I'm sort of in between, introvert, extrovert, and I can manage that. And I like actually having quiet time. But I know some of our business partners have had to be really more intentional and deliberate about, even if it just means they go to a Starbucks to work, not because something's not working at home, but just because they need that sense of people around them. They need to feel like they're sort of out and about and in places. And I think that's a good thing to recognize. It's not right for everybody, and you can adapt it lots of different ways to make it feel like it's right for you.
Right, and that's also why those co-working spaces are really taking off everywhere, where you can just sit and work next to people or get a little cubicle or whatever you need for yourself as well as for meetings. Great. Well, and I would say bottom line for me, I love it. So if people are like, oh, is it worth it? It sounds pretty hard. Yes, it comes with challenges. And I love the flexibility, the freedom, the independence, the ability to make sure that I'm doing the most essential things with my time and with my work. So I wouldn't not do it, even though there are some days where I'm like, wow, this has been a lot harder than anybody really would probably guess.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I just think sometimes it is that thing of we take some things for granted, and then when we go out on our own, we don't realize that they're missing because we didn't realize that how much that was being provided for us.
Right. Or we're idealizing the other, like, oh, it would be so great. But it's like, it is super great when you're waking up at 4 a.m. to get something done, but then taking a nap at 1 p.m., but not feeling guilty about it, but then on a call with a different country at 6 p.m. And it is great if you love it, but it is way different than what some people might expect. And it's not that the grass is greener. It's more like, is it a fit? Do you have the structures in place to be successful? Are you really taking advantage of why you chose that lifestyle?
Exactly.
Are you really deciding to embrace it as opposed to feeling guilty and stressed about it, is what I would say. And I think the bottom line for what we've learned, put in place the right support team for those things that you actually can't do yourself. The other is put in place any structures. Like we have our Monday morning meeting, all of us together to get focused on what we're doing for the week and get connected. Or even if it's just working side by side with someone in a coffee shop or a co-working space, so the structures. And then the third is just be really clear with your intentions, with yourself and others to manage that feeling of like you should be doing more, you should be doing less. Just be really clear. And then follow your map and be in communication and enjoy the process if you can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
if anyone has questions about it, I would say we're certainly available if someone's contemplating it and thinking, I don't know, this sounds interesting. We're happy to share what we've learned. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. One of our favorite things to do for those people who it's a right fit for, to transition to starting their own practice or starting a small business or something. It's so funny with our clients. People will come to us because they feel like they need a career transition. And I think it's 50-50 where some people decide just to really reconnect with where they are at a different way, or they really do leave and start something new. But if you are one of those people who are like, what does it really take? Or they want to bounce ideas off of us or get some specific feedback on what you're facing, for sure, reach out to us. We'd love to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yay.
Awesome. All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday to everybody. Thank you, Betsy.
All right. I'm going to sign up now. Bye.